Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're here to talk and answer your questions about the Summer Work and Travel Program. My name's Alex. This is Tammy. We're both consular officers here at the U.S. Embassy, and we will be dealing with the Summer Work and Travel Program. Just a second. Technical difficulties. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So every year we give visas to students here in Ukraine and across the world, but we do it here in Ukraine, obviously, so that students can go spend the summer in the U.S., work, earn some money, and have a cultural exchange experience in the U.S., meet some American students their age, find out what it's like to live and work in the U.S. Most of the students who go on these exchange programs will be doing, I would say, pretty easy jobs. You know, you might be a lifeguard, you might work at a restaurant or a hotel, maybe, you know, cleaning rooms or doing something like that. You're not going to go and work for NASA or anything like that. But what I think is neat about this program is that you're basically doing the same kinds of jobs that American students do over the summers too. When I was younger, when I was college age, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts and I worked at Starbucks. And it was actually a lot of fun, you know, all the donuts you can eat for a whole summer. It was great. So I hope you guys have as much fun as I did when I was in college working that kind of job. So every year, the U.S. Embassy processes these visas, and last year we processed about 6,000 of them. And in the past 5 years, 2 million students have been issued J1 visas to travel to the U.S. all over the world. In that time, about almost 35,000 summer work and travel visas have been issued in Ukraine alone. So that's a lot of students, and we know that a lot of you out there are going to have questions. We're here to answer them today. Interviews start on Monday, this coming Monday, February 3rd, and they're going to last through the end of May. So it may seem like you have a lot of time to get your stuff in and get your interview scheduled, but we really want to encourage you to schedule your interview as early as you can, because those slots are going to fill up, and we would hate for anybody to miss out on their opportunity to go work in the U.S. over the summer because you waited until the last minute. So, without further ado, you want to jump into the questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's get started.
All right.
Okay, the first question comes from Irina. And this is about a full-time student who has lost their student ID card. The university refuses to give a new one until the beginning of the next academic year. During the interview at the embassy, the student will have a grade book, an original letter from the university, and a letter from the university saying that the student ID is lost. Are these documents enough for the interview? The very short answer is yes. Those documents are enough for the interview.
Okay, Igor asks, can you tell me more about students in their final year of studies and why some of them are refused? He would like to participate in the program, but he's a little bit afraid of being refused because it looks like he's in his last year. So essentially, what you need to do in this visa interview and in most visa interviews for other types of visas is you need to demonstrate that you have ties that will bring you back to the Ukraine. So being in your last year of studies and about to graduate doesn't disqualify you by any means, but in some cases it can make it harder for you to show that you have ties that will bring you back. So that's basically the short answer. Doesn't disqualify you. You can definitely still come to the interview. You definitely could get the visa. We do issue visas to students in their last year, but you have to be able to show those ties to Ukraine.
Hey, Ubu Julius asks if international students enrolled in Ukrainian universities can participate in the program, and are there any special expectations? Yes. International students who are enrolled in accredited 4-year Ukrainian universities can participate in this program. But, like any other visa candidate, they have to show ties to Ukraine. Sometimes it's harder for foreign students to show this because Ukraine is not their home country, but they are absolutely eligible for participation in the summer work travel program.
All right, one of our Facebook guests, guest number 777, says in the summer work and travel instructions for 2014, it says students should return back to Ukraine before their university start date. If the official start date of their university is September 15th, are students allowed to have that grace period for travel after their work ends and return back to Ukraine on September 14th for their September 15th start date? In previous years, the instructions said that all students should be back by September 1st. Now it says should return before their studies begin in their particular university. So I can definitely see how this would be confusing. And here's how it's working this year. Almost all universities in Ukraine are going to start classes on September 1st. However, we know that there are a few out there that will start a week or two later. The last day that you can work in the United States, regardless of when you start school, is August 31st. After that, your job must end. If your job ends before that, you can have up to 30 days to travel in the U.S., but you have to be back in the U.S. before the start of your classes. If your classes start on September 15th at your university, but your first class doesn't start until September 16th, you just happen not to have classes on Monday, you still have to be back by September 15th. So your schedule doesn't really matter. It's when the first day of classes is at your university. Also, just be aware, we consular officers know that almost all universities start on September 1st. So if in the future you come to apply for a visa and we see that you didn't come back from summer work and travel until after September 1st, we may ask you what's up. Just explain your situation, that's fine, but you should know that it may come up at some point in a future visa interview, not necessarily to disqualify you, but just for you to clarify.
Okay, another Facebook guest. This is guest 555. Wants to know if students of Ukrainian colleges of I to 2I accreditation can participate in the summer work and travel program this year. No. I'm sorry that they can't participate because these types of colleges are not accredited four-year Ukrainian universities, and it is only students of accredited four-year Ukrainian universities or students that are five-year master candidates or medical students with their six-year programs that can participate in this program.
Okay. Let's see. Guest number 555 also asks, will the process of issuing visas be the same as it was last year? Meaning, do students have to wait 2 to 3 weeks to find out if they get their visa? And the good news is, no, you don't have to wait 2 or 3 weeks this year. So you will get your answer right there at the visa interview. You'll find out if you get your visa. In a couple of really rare cases, like if you forget all of your documents or something like that, we may give you a yellow letter that just says, your case is on hold, send us your stuff. That's a worst case scenario in terms of waiting for your answer. That doesn't happen very often. If you come to your interview prepared, you should find out right away whether you get your visa or not.
And the same guest has one last question. He wants to know if a student got refused, is the same student able to apply for an appeal this year? There are no appeals of visa decisions. So the answer to that question is no. However, this same student can apply for another visa interview this year, absolutely. There is nothing that says that refusal last year, as long as you are still eligible for participation in this program, there's nothing that bars a student from applying again, even if they were refused last year.
Okay. Robert asks, hello, I'm a fourth-year student at a pedagogical university. Can I apply for work and travel or Camp America program? Agencies say that fourth-year students are more likely to get refused their visas. And we sort of already touched on this in a previous question, but basically, yes, fourth-year students may apply. You are eligible to participate in the program if you're a fourth-year student. Just be aware that it's often more difficult for fourth-year students to show ties to Ukraine. So come to the interview prepared.
Okay, Georgi asks, says that he was a student last year on summer work and travel. Now he's a fourth-year university student and wants to know about his chances for a J1 visa this year. Also saying that he is in a 5-year master's degree course. Well, Georgi, unfortunately, we cannot speak to individual candidates' chances for their visas in any situation. But as you are still eligible for the program, if you would like to apply, you are more than welcome to do so.
Okay, guest number 777 asks, last year, political issues in Russia influenced J1 visas very much and led to up to 90% visa refusals in Moscow. Wow. How will the present political situation in Ukraine influence summer work and travel J1 visas? Now, I don't work in Moscow. I didn't work there last year, so I absolutely can't comment on what happened there. But what I can say is that here in Ukraine, the criteria by which we judge J1 visa applicants and the things that we're looking for haven't changed. So I really don't expect it to have the political situation to have any effect on how many visas we issue or how likely you are to get a visa. The things we're looking for are the same as last year.
And that leads directly into the next question, where Robert asks, how can a student show his ties with his homeland if he's a final year student? Well, Robert, we look for the same thing for any candidate that needs to show ties to Ukraine. We look for social ties, economic ties, professional ties, personal ties. And the strength of those ties are all very, very important. So whether you're a first-year student, a fourth-year student, or a student applying for a tourist visa, any one of those is going to have to show ties to Ukraine. Sometimes it is harder for students in their final year to show these ties because their lives are in flux and things are changing in their personal situation. So that is something that you, as the candidate, is going to have to look at.
Okay, Svetlana asks, do you have any additional requirements for first-year students? Do you require these students to provide a confirmation or certificate from their university that they completed their second semester and that they are transferred to their second course? So what's required of first-year students is that they've completed at least one semester of study, or if you're on a trimester or quarter system, 2 trimesters or 2 quarters. So this is not a full academic year. You know, if you come to your interview on Monday, which is the beginning of February, we clearly don't expect you to have finished your second semester of school. But we do need to see that you finished your first semester of school and that you are enrolled and taking classes in your second semester.
Okay. The next one's not actually a question, so I'm going to skip it. Now a Facebook guest 6002, is saying, if I am 24 years old, but am in the second year of study at my university, but it's my second education, will it affect my visa chances? And the answer to that question is, if you are eligible for the program, which you are if you are a second-year student at an accredited 4-year Ukrainian university, then you have the same chances as any other student who is applying for this program.
Okay, guest 759 asks, again, something we've touched on already, can the political situation in Ukraine affect visas being issued or the number of visas that we issued? And again, I don't think so. We're looking for the same things as last year.
Now, Igor is asking again about the kind of ties that a student needs to show. We've already covered this, so I'm actually going to skip to the next question, which is another question from Irina, who is asking if a student studying in university has a residence permit in Ukraine but is a citizen of Russia, is it possible to apply for a summer work travel visa in Ukraine? If you are a student at a Ukrainian 4-year accredited university, then you may apply for this program in Ukraine, but you must be a student at a Ukrainian accredited 4-year university.
Okay, our next question is about first-year students, and we actually already touched on that, so I'm going to skip to the next one. It's about scheduling visa appointments for students. Is it allowed to schedule visa interviews for summer work and travel participants using the travel coordinator option in our system? Or is it mandatory to schedule the visa interviews using the student's own profile with his own login and password only? So we know that agencies that are helping students through the visa process will schedule the appointments for those students, and for that reason, it's fine to use the travel coordinator option. And what this does is it basically allows agencies to have one logon and then be able to access all of the appointment scheduling for all of the students that they're helping, rather than having to log onto the system 100 different times. So yes, travel coordinator option is fine.
Okay, the next question is from another Facebook guest. Guest 143. I don't have my job offer or documents from my sponsor yet. When is the last day I can schedule my visa interview for? The last day that you can schedule your interview for is the last day in May. It is May 31st, May 30th. I'm sorry, it is May 30th. So you have up until then. But as Alex already mentioned, as soon as you have all your documents and as soon as everything is all lined up for yourself, please don't wait. Because as the season goes on, we expect that these slots will fill up very, very fast. And we want everybody who wants to have the chance to go to participate in summer work and travel to have the chance to come in and see us here at the embassy for an interview. So don't wait, sign up as soon as you can.
Okay. Eager asks, if I get refused, how will that influence other visa applications for the US or the EU? First of all, I want to say I don't work for the EU. I can't comment on what the EU is going to think of that. So you have to ask them. In terms of US visas, when you apply for your next visa, if we see that you were refused before, all that means is that at that time, you didn't meet the summer work and travel requirements, or you didn't have strong enough ties to Ukraine to qualify for that visa. Maybe now you do. So if you can show that you have strong enough ties and a credible purpose of travel on your next application, you should be fine.
Our next question comes from guest 4567, who wants to know, excuse me, what circumstances affect a refused visa? I'm not really sure what that question means, so if guest 4567 would like to reword the question and send it in again, we'll attempt to answer it. The next question is, what will happen if I'm late for an interview? Well, if you suddenly realize that you are not going to be able to make an interview, it's up to you to get in touch with us to reschedule. And you should do that as soon as you know that you're not going to be able to make it. If, however, something happens, you're coming in at 10 o'clock and, oh no, you overslept, and now all of a sudden it's noon and you're not going to make it, well, then you need to get in touch with us by calling the call center to let us know so that we can unlock your case so you can go in there and set up another time. But with that said, don't do that. Because if you do, you may not be able to get another interview slot because they might all be taken. As we said, we expect a lot of people are going to want to participate this year. So once you have your slot, please try to keep the slot to which you are assigned.
Okay, next question is from guest 143. Can I change my job if I find a better paid position while I'm in the US? And the answer is yes. What you would do is you would call your sponsor. You will have a US sponsor who will help you with situations like this and with any situation that you run into if you kind of get in trouble. If you get in trouble with the law, or if you're being treated badly at your job, or if there's something wrong with your housing, you have no electricity, or something's really, really wrong, which doesn't happen often. But if it does, your US sponsor is the person to talk to. And if you find a better job, they're also the person you want to talk to about changing. What will need to happen is your sponsor will change your SEVIS registration to reflect your new job. And it's very important to make sure that this happens, because if you come back to apply for another visa later and your SEVIS registration did not reflect the job that you were actually doing, then you will be considered to have been out of status while you were in the US, and that can affect your eligibility for future visas. So the short answer is you can change jobs, work with your sponsor, make sure they change your SEVIS registration.
The next question from guest 160 is, can I apply for the summer work travel program if I participated in the green card lottery? Yes, of course. Participating in the diversity visa lottery has absolutely no impact on the summer work and travel process whatsoever.
Okay, guest 777 asks about the travel coordinator position again, which we already talked about. Yes, it's fine. So I'll skip to the next question. Guest 283 asks,
I don't think there's a question in there.
Yeah, no, so here's the deal. I know that a lot of you will probably have questions about your specific situation or friends of yours who were refused in the past, but we really can't comment on specific cases. We can't tell you your specific chances of getting a visa, and we can't tell you what happened in the past if you or a friend were refused, because I wasn't there. I was doing something else last year. We don't know the whole story, so we can't comment on individual circumstances.
And we also can't comment on things that affect... This guest obviously has asked twice now about the 5th year. If you are eligible to participate in this program, you're welcome to apply.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that there's not much more we can say about that.
Okay, I'll take the next question too, because I skipped a couple. Pete asks, we have a Ukrainian who is a student in Poland. Can she apply for a visa in Kyiv? She can apply for a visa in Kyiv, but if she's studying at a university in Poland, she's going to want to apply for the summer work and travel visa in Poland if she's studying there, because they're going to be able to, they know the requirements for Polish universities, they know the dates for Polish universities, so that's where she's going to want to apply. If she's applying for a tourist visa or something, she's welcome to come to Kyiv. But for summer work and travel, please try to apply in the country where you're studying.
So I'm seeing the comment from guest 892. Thank you. Thank you. The next question from guest 32. If my DS 2019 has May 5th as the start date and my employer wants me to come on May 24th, do I have to change my DS 2019? No. No, you don't. But what you do have to do is when you get to the United States, you have to check in with your sponsor so that your sponsor can check in with the SEVIS people so that your correct start date is actually recorded, so that you don't have any violations the next time that you come in and you want to try for a visa again. That's very, very important. Make sure you check in with your sponsor.
Okay. The next question is from guest 143, and it's actually a really important question. What should I do if I get fired? If you get fired, call your sponsor. Your sponsor will be able to help you out, possibly line up other employment, but help you figure out what to do next and make sure that everything is okay with SEVIS so that you don't run into problems later on. I also wanted to mention, if you get fired and you believe that it was for reasons like humanitarian reasons, they didn't like you because of your religion or your race, the color of your skin, something like that, definitely tell your sponsor that. And we have an email address, jvisas@state.gov. If you have a problem like that, definitely send an email to that email address. That'll let us know we want to know these things. Also, to every applicant, we will be handing out this wonderful and important document called the William Wilberforce pamphlet. This has a lot of really important information for you. If you get fired, if you run into problems with your employer, if you're being mistreated, this has resources for you that will help you be okay while you're in the U.S. It will let you know what your rights are in the U.S., what some things that employers are not allowed to do include. Like, they're not allowed to hold on to your passport and not give it back to you. They have to pay you, things like that. So we're going to give this to you. Read it, take it seriously, keep it, take it with you to the U.S., and if you run into any problems, call your sponsor, consult this pamphlet, and see if there are any resources there that can help you.
Okay, Yulia wants to know if it's possible to make a group appointment for a group of students via travel coordinator option so they have an interview at the same time. we've already touched on travel coordinators making appointments, so we're just going to skip that, although I will say that we don't do group appointments. So, but travel coordinators can make appointments for the people that they're coordinating for. We just don't do group appointments. Okay.
Guest number 190 asks, which field, if any, in the DS-160 should reflect information about participation in the diversity visa lottery? And the answer to that is none of them. There is a question in there that asks, have you ever had an immigrant visa petition filed for you? And what that's really asking about is, do you have family in the U.S. who's filed a petition to bring you over because you're a family member? There are some other cases where you can get like one for an employer, but probably none of our summer work and travel students will have had that. So fill that out honestly. If you don't fill it out honestly, we will know, and that will be very bad. But if you do fill it out honestly, it might not be a big deal. In terms of diversity visa, nothing on the DS-160 really asks about that. We know that lots of people enter the diversity visa lottery every year. Some people are entered by their parents. Some people are entered by agencies. Some people enter on a whim. It's just not that big a deal, so we don't ask about it on the DS-160. Okay, Pete asks, are there any limitations of jobs, types of jobs that students can have as summer work travel participants? And the answer is yes. And I'll tell you up front, I'm going to tell you a lot of jobs you can't do, but I might not be remembering all of them. So we're putting up a link to the in the application instructions. That will give you a more complete list of what you're not allowed to do. But some of the jobs that you're not allowed to do, you're not allowed to work at a fish processing plant anymore. We know that a lot of students have gone to Alaska, made lots of money processing fish, but it's not really what this program is about, and that's not an allowable job anymore. You're not allowed to work in a casino. You're not allowed to work in a strip club. You are not allowed to have any job where you're working night shifts. And you're not allowed to have a job where you're not going to have any interaction with Americans in your job. If you're just working like back of the house in a kitchen with a bunch of other Ukrainians all day, every day, you're not having a cultural exchange experience, and that's not what the program's about. So we want you interacting with Americans, so your job has to involve that.
And two others that I can remember are no jobs involving operating heavy machinery, and also no jobs that require driver's licenses, and no jobs where you are paid on commission. Very important. No mall kiosks. Okay, the next question is from guest 283. I have 2 J1 visas. What are my chances to get a tourist visa? Well, guest 283, I'm sorry, but this falls under the we do not speak to individual circumstances rule. So you are certainly welcome to come in and apply for a tourist visa if you would like to. There is definitely no bar against applying for a tourist visa if you've had 2 J1s, but whether it will work in your favor or detract from your case, I can't say because I don't know your individual circumstances.
Okay, Igor has a question that's pretty specific about his situation, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because I think there's an issue in there that I can clarify. He had applied to study at a U.S. community college and came back to Ukraine. And he wants to know, in his DS-160, will he have a problem with the question, has anyone ever filed an immigrant petition on your behalf? Now, a petition is a really specific thing. If you had an F1 to study in the U.S., that is not a petition-based visa. If you had an immigrant visa, like if someone had applied for you to get a green card so that you could come and study at that community college, that would be a petition-based visa. Also, if anyone's ever applied for a work visa, like an H-1B or an L, that's a petition-based visa. But if you were applying for an F visa or another J visa, those are not petition-based visas, so you can answer no to the question, has anyone ever filed an immigrant petition on your behalf? Also, this is getting confusing, I'm sorry. It says immigrant petition, so H-1Bs, any non-immigrant visa, it's not talking about that. It's only if someone in the U.S., not you entering the green card lottery, but someone in the U.S. tried to get a green card for you. That's what that question is talking about.
All right, guest 602 is saying, my English isn't perfect. How should I prepare for the visa interviews? Okay, something very important to know about summer work travel. You have to have good English. It's a baseline requirement for the program. And we will test you on your English. We will speak with you. We will ask you all sorts of questions. And we will be able to tell if you are speaking off of a memorized script or if you're actually having a conversation with us. Many people think that we do this simply as a way to cut people out of the program, and that's not the case. We do it because we want you to have the most fulfilling time that you can during your summer in the United States. We want to make sure that you take advantage of all the opportunities that are given to you, and that if anything bad happens and you get into trouble, you have enough English language facility to be able to stand up for yourself, to work with the authorities, or to let people know what has happened. So it is both a measure for safety as well as for making sure that you have an excellent summer, that we make sure that all participants can speak English. So it's very important that you have good English abilities when applying for this program.
Okay. Svetlana asks, how long will it take to print the visa in the passport after the visa interview was successful? Once we told you your visa is approved, 1 week later, you should be able to get your passport from TNT with the visa in it. Easy question. Thanks.
All right, guest 143 wants to know if it's possible to receive a visa even if the applicant has low grades. We do not look at how good or bad your grades are, but you do need to be passing your classes. That is, I would say, the basic requirement. You must be enrolled in a 4-year Ukrainian accredited university that leads to a degree, and you have to have passing grades.
Okay, guest 88 asks, can you tell me more about the process of issuing the visa this year, when students can get their visa, how much time it takes? And we had a couple of questions about this already, but just to sum up, you come to the interview, you're told if you're approved or not. 1 week later, if you're approved, you get the visa.
Let's see, guest 630 says that he or she has never been to the U.S. but wants to participate in work and travel. What would be the purpose of refusing a visa and why? Oh, I think what they mean is, why would a visa be refused? Again, that also falls under the discussion of personal circumstances, so I'm sorry, I can't answer that question at this time. But again, if you're eligible, we welcome your participation, and we look forward to seeing you at your interview.
Okay, guest 32 asks, if a student is transferred to a university in Poland and starts studies there in October 2014, is it okay for this student to stay in the U.S. during September because it does not prevent starting studies on time in Poland? That's a tricky question. I don't think I've seen that before, but it's a valid question. You are certainly still eligible to participate in summer work and travel if you're transferring from a university in Ukraine to one in Poland. What I would say, I mean, this kind of, it sort of spans the requirements in 2 different countries, one of which I'm not really familiar with. So the safest bet would be to come back by September 1st. Just if you do that, you won't have any problems with future visa interviews regarding when you came back. If you stay through September, I'm not going to tell you that that definitely will be a problem, but you will definitely have some explaining to do. And I'm not sure how people in Poland or how consular officers down the road are going to look at that. So if you want to really be on the safe side, come back by September 1st.
Okay, guest 777 wants to know if there's a minor mistake in the DS-160, will the embassy accept it? Minor mistake, as in a transliteration problem, yes, we will accept it. You know, if your name is Yuri and it is spelled Y-U-R-Y instead of Y-U-R-I, that's fine. If there is a big mistake in your DS-160, please make sure that you reschedule your interview and you ask for your profile to be unlocked so that you can make the correction yourself.
Okay, Alexandra, that's my name too, great. Alexandra asks, hello, will you say the results of the interview immediately or after a few weeks? Again, yes, immediately. I'll go on and we're going to skip the next question and I'm going to go to guest 32 since that was way too easy for me. It didn't count because we've talked about that before. Is there a list of specific employers blacklisted from hiring program participants, and can the employer be a reason of visa denial? We don't have a blacklist.
Guest 238 says, is it possible that someone else took away the passport instead of the owner from the Postal Service office? So the first way that I understand this is, can someone take your passport from you? And the answer to that is no. One of your rights, as outlined in the Wilberforce pamphlet that we showed you earlier, is that no one else can take your passport from you. You should always keep your passport on you. It is very important. The other way that I could understand this question is, can somebody else pick up my passport? And the answer to that is yes. If you designate somebody else to pick up your passport with the visa, that's fine.
Like from TNT.
From TNT.
Your mom
yes.
wants to go pick it up, that's cool.
Exactly.
Robert asks, do I have to prove ties to Ukraine documentarily or verbally? And, well, the answer is you have to prove your ties. So documents often can help. So we encourage you to bring documents that show your ties to Ukraine. If you say you have a job lined up after school, bring documents that back that up. Now you also have to, the interview is verbal. We're going to talk to you. So you can hand us a stack of documents, but if you don't know the name of the company you're going to work for, then that's not going to work. So you need to be able to have a conversation with us about your ties, and you should also bring documents because sometimes we'll want to see those. If we don't ask you for your documents, that's okay. Sometimes we don't need to see them, but bring them just in case. Be prepared.
All right. Yorgi asks, do we think medical students have higher chances of getting visas if they're fourth years because medical specialties are longer courses of study? Again, I'm so sorry, that falls under the personal situation aspect. If you are a fourth-year medical student, you are certainly eligible for the program. Come on in, have your interview, but I can't speak to individual cases. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Basically, there are a lot of factors that go into the decision of whether or not we issue a visa, so we can't tell you if any one thing about your application is going to make or break you getting a visa. So we don't want to give you information that may not wind up being true. So
exactly.
But you can come apply. Okay, guest 630 asks, is it possible to participate in Au Pair USA if I've been with Work and Travel USA last summer, or will I be denied? Again, I can't tell you if you'll be denied, but you're definitely eligible to apply for the visa. You're not going to be automatically disqualified because you participated in summer work travel. But again, personal circumstances, I don't know if you'll get the visa.
All right, the next question is if we have a specific list of documents for applying for a travel visa. Yes, actually there is a specific list. It can be found on our website or our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/SWT Ukraine. I encourage you to take a look at that and to gather together all the documents that you'll need and bring them with you to the interview. Please bring everything with you.
And that list of documents includes the documents that you are required to bring to the interview, like your DS 2019, those sort of documents, but documents to show your ties to Ukraine. If you have more, if you have a job offer, if you've got a letter of recommendation from a professor or something like that, those won't be included in the list, but by all means bring them. You will never be refused just because you brought too many documents. So come as prepared as you possibly can. Let's see. Here's a question. Which agency can I apply for the program with? We don't work specifically with agencies, so we can't really recommend or not recommend any specific agencies, but we do have a list of agencies that have been approved by ECA up on our website. So you can go take a look at that, and if you're still looking for an agency to help you get a job, you can contact some of those agencies.
The next question is, can I ask my friend to help me fill in the DS-160? Yes. Yes, you can. You are allowed to have help as long as you indicate who helped you at the bottom of the form. There's a spot for it all the way at the bottom. And you need to put in whoever helped you, as well as I think it asks for their relationship to you. And you should also explain that in your visa interview, because oftentimes we'll say, did you fill out this form by yourself? Don't lie. It's not a problem if someone helps you, because I know that the questions can be a little bit confusing or you might not have all the information. That's fine. Just make sure you don't lie about it.
Okay. I don't have my job offer and documents from my sponsor yet. When is the last day I can schedule my visa interview? May 30th. End of May, but don't wait until the last minute. I can't promise you that on May 29th we'll have any spots open on May 30th. So schedule as quickly as you can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If I scheduled my visa appointment but my employer changed, what should I do? That's actually a very good question because it happens a lot. What you need to do is you need to call and reschedule your interview as soon as you find out information on your employer changing. And then let us know so that we can unlock your profile so that you can go in and make the changes in your profile. Because if you come to the interview with different information, you'll be refused on the grounds of the information you have not matching the information in your profile. So it's very, very important that everything is truthful and correct. And it's not a problem. It happens all the time. But just make sure that you're in touch with us so that everything can go as smoothly as possible.
Okay. We had one question that went up there and disappeared, but I want to answer it because I think it's a really valid question. How can I overcome my excitement at the visa interview? And yeah, we definitely get that people get nervous. It's kind of a big deal. So take deep breaths, get a good night's sleep beforehand, eat breakfast, take care of yourself. But also just know that we know that you're nervous. We get it. Mm-hmm. And we know that sometimes that can kind of make you flub your English. It makes us flub our Russian and Ukrainian too.
Absolutely.
If you make grammatical mistakes or forget a word, don't worry about it. You don't have to be fluent. So just, we've all been through job interviews and things like this too. We know how it works. We know you're nervous. We don't expect you to be perfect. So it's okay.
And also, we love seeing you guys.
Yeah.
We love seeing you guys. You are some of our favorite applicants because students are so much fun. You're excited to be going. We're excited for you. We want you to go. We want you to have the best summer possible. And we want to be a part of that. So we're happy that you're excited, but don't be scared.
Okay. We've only got a couple minutes left, so we're going to try to squeeze as many of your questions in as possible.
Yes.
Guest 32 asks, does the DS 2019 have to be changed if my employer wants me to start work earlier than the DS 2019 start date? And the answer is yes, because whatever your DS 2019 says, that's when you're going to be able to go and start work. So make sure that the DS 2019 is accurate. And also, if anything on your DS 2019 changes about your job, make sure that your DS 160 says the exact same thing. Otherwise, you're going to have to reschedule your appointment and fix things, and it'll be a mess. So just make sure that everything's accurate and everything's the same.
Mm-hmm. The next question is about H-2Bs and how often they get denied. Unfortunately, this is not a discussion of H-2Bs, so we're going to skip that. The next question is from guest 649. I applied to summer work travel, and my sponsor proposed a great job offer, but this is a small company, and I doubt if I would get a visa for this employer. Is there any way that I can check this employer is safe? Can I email the embassy so that you can check it? No, unfortunately, you can't email us to check it. Your sponsor is, in fact, legally charged with making sure that you have a safe place to work and also with getting you the job offer. So your sponsor is the one that you would work with to ensure that this is a proper job placement. And if you have any doubts about it, this is something that you need to carefully consider before actually accepting the contract.
But some things that you can do on your own, go to Google Maps,
Mm-hmm.
put in the address of your employer. If you're going to work at a McDonald's and it's a strip club shows up, there might be a problem. If you know where your housing is going to be, make sure that it's in the same city. Make sure that you know how it's possible to get there. You know, you can do some research yourself online, and we definitely encourage you to do that. I think we have time for one more question. So this question is going to be from guest 88. Which fingers do you ask to put on the screen in the interview? So at the interview, we're going to take all of your fingerprints. So 4 fingers are your right hand, 4 fingers are your left hand, and your 2 thumbs. Then when you get to us, then we start talking about your studies and your ties in English. Or possibly before you get to us, we're also going to ask you to do it again. You have to do it twice. Usually at that point we just need you to do one set, and it's going to be totally random. But expect to have all of your fingers printed, and if you are like missing a finger or something like that, that's okay. That's totally fine. Doesn't mess anything up. That happens sometimes. So, okay. Well, thank you everybody for your wonderful questions. We hope that we were able to help you understand the process more. Hopefully we were able to ease some of your fears and nervousness. And thank you so much for participating with us. And we really look forward to meeting you all in the next couple of weeks and months. Good luck.
Bye.